Welcome to the Wealth Embodied podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Faringer, an attorney, spiritual guide, and wealth activator. I'm here to help you align your mindset for abundance and break through any glass ceilings with money. If you're ready to embrace your highest calling, manifest with more ease, and create a life that feels lighter and more aligned, then let's dive in. Hello, welcome to the Wealth Embodied podcast. I am Brianna. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you're having a great day so far. So today I am going to talk about finding life's purpose through hardships. And purpose is such a big topic. I mean, I could talk for hours about purpose. So I'm sure there will be a lot more to come on this particular topic, but wanted to just kind of generally address it because it's something that if you know about it is important to you, and maybe if it's something that you haven't really explored yet, it may not be something that has a whole lot of impact in your life right now. And I'll explain what I mean by that. But, you know, knowing what your purpose is in this life can greatly impact how you move through the world and what you are doing. Because if you are living in alignment with your purpose, you are going to be living a greater life of joy, happiness, lightness, just overall better feeling about everything that's happening in your life. Because when you are aligned with your purpose, you're aligned with what you're really intended to do in this life. And so, my belief, and if this doesn't resonate with you, take it or leave it, but my belief is that we come into this life knowing what our purpose is, and we know it before we're born. And then we are actually born into this physical world, and it is up to us to rediscover what that is. So it's something that we already know. It's something that's inside of us. It's just something that some people, it takes them a long time to discover in this lifetime. And sometimes people don't at all. And I will say, as somebody who lived the large majority of my life without feeling like I had any purpose, I feel so significantly different about my life now that I feel I'm living in alignment with my purpose. It gives me a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And I think a lot of people think that purpose is their job, purpose may be their family, their children, their pets. And I'm not saying it's not. What I will say is, just because those are things that make you want to get out of bed in the morning does not necessarily mean that that is the thing that you are here to do. It doesn't mean it's not. It just may not be the thing. And by the way, purpose is a big topic. It's also very personal. And so anything I say in this podcast is really just from my lived experience and the things I know about how I rediscovered my purpose and how I know a lot of other people have gone about doing that. If, if that's not been your path or your experience, totally fine. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that this is unique. Our purpose is unique to us, and how we feel about it is unique to us, and how we live our lives is unique to us, right? And so every single person's purpose is going to be different. Now, I believe that we all have actually very similar purposes, which is just to live the most joyful life that we can. And that being said, I often find that purpose is very general, and it's how we each on our own implement it and how we fulfill that purpose that makes it really special for our own lives. And so I didn't even know when I would hear people talk about having a purpose, I'm not sure I ever really understood it. I think I always thought of purpose as, whatever people, made them feel like they had a reason to keep going. I certainly have that feeling about my dog. I don't have children, but I do have a dog that I love more than anything in the world, and he does give me reason to keep on going. But I will say, if I go back several years before I started, going down the path of finding my purpose, and before I went through a lot of really, really big change in my life, The thing that was coming up for me was I often felt like, what am I here for? What am I doing here? Because I had looked back at all of the things that had happened in my life and what were happening, and it seemed to me like even though I had joys in my life, I just would always have this thought, question, wondering of like, is this what I came here to do? I came here to go to school my whole life, get a job, work my ass off, work myself to death because at that point in time I was nearing burnout as a full-time lawyer, really feeling unfulfilled, coming home every day and being so exhausted that I didn't have anything left for myself. And I would say to myself, is this really what I'm supposed to do here? I'm supposed to get up every day, work my ass off, give everything I have to other people just to be able to make a living, and then I die? Right? And I know that that sounds bleak, but that was what I thought. I was so confused. I would have this thought out there all the time, like there has to be something more than this. This can't be what I'm here for. And I know now it's because I didn't have purpose. I wasn't living in alignment with my purpose. That doesn't mean that I still wasn't doing things that were purposeful. And what I mean by that is, as I look back, I can really see that one of the ways I fulfilled my purpose was being a lawyer. And I still am a lawyer, I just don't work full time. But one of the ways that I fulfill my purpose, and I'm not going to get into what my specific purpose is because that's personal to me. And I feel like that's something I keep for myself. But one of the ways that I can look back and say, oh, I fulfilled my purpose is by helping other people with the issues that they had with the IRS, right? So as an attorney, I represent taxpayers against the IRS and other taxing authorities. And I have helped a lot of people make big changes in their lives as a result of the outcomes that we have gotten in their cases. And so for me, even though I was doing that at the time, I didn't really recognize that it was in alignment with my purpose. And because I hadn't connected what I was doing with something that really gave me purpose or made me feel like I had purpose in my body, it didn't have the same effect. And so I'm saying this because if you have ever had this feeling like, I don't know what my purpose is, I don't know if I need to know, that's up to you whether you do or do not try to, get in alignment with that. What I would say is, I have gone down this path now of being in alignment with my purpose, and my life is so much more fulfilling than it was before. And anytime I have this thought of like, is this really what I'm here to do? I remember that it is. I remember my purpose. I remember my mission. I remember why I'm here in this physical life, because having that connection and that knowledge of what I'm here to do makes such a positive impact on everything that I'm doing. And it's changed the way that I show up for people that I'm helping, whether it's as an attorney, as a friend, as a colleague, as somebody who helps people with their money mindset, whatever it is. It really has changed the way I feel about myself and the way I feel about my life. And it's made a really significant difference. So I would say if you're kind of like, I don't really care, do I even really need to figure out what this is? For me and for most everyone I know that has felt like they've, found or rediscovered their purpose, they have really changed the way that they feel about their life and they experience a lot more joy. So I'll just kind of, I'm going to give a very brief overview of what led me there because I've already gone to this in greater detail in previous episodes. But I, a couple years ago started to feel out of alignment with the work that I was doing. And I was in burnout. I didn't realize it at the time, but that's what was happening. I was in burnout. I had been suffering from many chronic health issues by that time for many years. I had chronic lower back pain. I had chronic digestive issues, chronic joint pain. I had so many things. I won't go into it, but I was basically put in the category of having fibromyalgia because I had almost every single um, symptom of, what people call fibromyalgia, which is a diagnosis by exclusion. It's not really a diagnosis. You don't have all of these other chronic health issues that we have searched for. So we're going to put you in this box that we don't really know what to call it, but we're going to call it fibromyalgia. I'm not a doctor. So if I'm not explaining that correctly, just, give me some grace. But that's the way that I understand it. But I was suffering from so many chronic health issues. I know now it was the result of the lifestyle I was living. I was, by my belief, I was a healthy person. I, eat pretty well. I get a lot of sleep. I exercise. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I, don't do any of those things. But I was chronically stressed and I had chronic anxiety from the work that I was doing. And I wasn't managing it or coping with it in a way that was actually very helpful. And I realize that now. I didn't understand that at the time, of course. It's easy to see things in hindsight. But the result of me going through all of those chronic health issues was that I was led to the Akashic records. If you don't know what those are, I will explain them in great detail in another episode, and I have talked about them before, but they are in a database, a non-physical database of infinite information that it contains the information of every soul's journey, past, present, and future. Right. And so I am a spiritual guide. I am a psychic channel. I channel information from the Akashic records to help people get information in their lives that can help them live their most joyous lives, including being in alignment with their purpose. So I was led to this particular tool. And by using that tool, I was able to resolve my own chronic lower back pain. The reason that this is important is because I started working in the Akashic records because I thought it would be fun. I didn't think I was not going to continue being a lawyer. I was like, oh, this sounds fun. Like I'm always looking for new hobbies, activities, things I can do to heal myself or, make myself better, personal growth, all of that stuff. And I was like, cool. So what I knew about the modality at that time, I just knew a lot of people had made big changes in their lives. I didn't know what I was in for. And I can really see it clearly in hindsight because I was guided to use them. And when I started using them, I started making really big changes in my own life. And then it became very clear to me that that was what I was supposed to be doing to help other people. And although that was a very fulfilling thing to ultimately find out, it was incredibly hard. It was incredibly hard. It was incredibly confusing. It was incredibly difficult for me to reconcile with the life that I had led up until that point, having been in the professional world, and being a lawyer and just the thought of moving into such a different space and potentially doing that, not just for fun, but as a way of helping people and a way for me to make money doing it was so far outside of my comprehension at that point. It was a very, very hard thing to have arisen in my life. And I'm saying that because most people that I know that, believe that they have found their true purpose in life have done so after going through something very hard. That doesn't mean it's the only way it can happen, but I'm saying that because it's often through going through very challenging times in our lives when things do not feel in alignment that we start to realize what does feel aligned for us. And it's not about what you're thinking is aligned for you, it's about how you feel. So we all make decisions in our lives many times based on what we think we're supposed to do, what society tells us we're supposed to do, what our family tells us what we're supposed to do, what we tell ourselves we think we're supposed to do, what our significant others tell us what we're supposed to do, right? We come up with all of these things and we say, well, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Like for me, I was like, well, I went to law school. This is what I'm going to do. Like I spent a lot of time and money doing that. I, went to law school later in life. I left a whole career to be able to do that. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not burning my life down again to start over. And I didn't necessarily do that, but I had to go through some very big changes and some big challenges and really start to decide for myself, how do I want to feel? And I decided for myself that I want to feel happy. I want to feel joy. I want to feel light in my body. I don't constantly want to be under stress and anxiety and worries and all of the things that I had before that were arising for me when I was working full time as a lawyer. And by the way, I do still work as a lawyer, but it feels different because I approach it differently. And I have a different belief and mindset about what my purpose is and how that fits in with me being able to fulfill my purpose. You can fulfill your purpose in a lot of different ways. I think this is a myth that a lot of people have, is that your purpose is one thing and that's what you do. And that's not true. It's not. And I can say that with certainty, even for, even though purpose is unique to each individual, it doesn't mean that it's one thing and one thing only, and then that's the thing that you stick with. It changes. And if you're not changing with it, it's going to not feel aligned. That's what happens. That's why a lot of times we find purpose in our lives after going through something really hard, because life is showing us that we are on a bumpier path. And there's a way to be on a smoother path, and it is being in alignment with your purpose. And I think people have this also this idea, not just that it's one thing, but that it's so hard to figure out. And it's not. It is hard to figure out if you have that belief. And when I do sessions with people, and sometimes people, sometimes I'll get very specific information about a person's purpose. Sometimes it's very general, and that's more often than not that I get information. It's very general. And I have found that to be confusing for people. And the reason is I think when people are trying to figure out, or rediscover their purpose, they are expecting to get something specific. And the reality is it's more general, right? And it's how you implement it that is what's in alignment for you. And nobody can tell you how to do that. You're the only person that can figure that out by going through life, right? This is like if you're looking for people or everyone to just give you the answer to everything, that's not what life is. Life is about you going through it and figuring out what works and what doesn't for you based on your unique path and on you as a person in this physical life, not on what other people are doing, not on what other people tell you to do, and not on what other people told you they've done. Like, I can give you my experience just as an example for you to say, oh, okay, trying to figure out if you want to go if you have already found your purpose, or if you want to go down that path, kind of just having a little bit of guidance on how you can do that. I can tell you the way that you do it is by feeling into your body. And that's a much bigger subject than what I can possibly go into today. But it's about how you feel. You can feel when you're out of alignment if you get very in tune with your body. And you have to practice doing that to be able to do it. And being in tune with your body is about allowing emotions to arise as they come up, experiencing them, and allowing them to move. If you are a person who is very uncomfortable by your own feelings, this is going to be hard for you. So that's would be my recommendation to anyone, would be to, allow yourself to feel the feelings. That's going to be one of the first things that's going to lead you to ultimately being able to discover what your true purpose is, if that's what you're looking for. Right. And so, but being able to feel, not think what you feel, actually feel in your body, is this aligned or not, is what is ultimately going to get you where you want to go. And so, I say that because a lot of people, I do think that they think somebody's going to give them the answer, and the answer is ultimately within you, which is a disappointing answer for some people. But to me, that's actually the fun, is being able to go through life and saying, how do I feel when I'm doing this thing or in response to this thing? And then allowing yourself to really feel it and say, is this aligned for me or is it not? And what I will say is, this kind of brings up for me the conversation of karma. Karma is a Sanskrit word that can have, Sanskrit words can have a lot of meanings, but the way I understand karma is that it's an action, right? Karma is an action, and every action you take has a consequence, whether you perceive it as good or bad. And so when you are on a path that is not aligned for you, it's going to feel bumpier. That's karma. If you are on a path that is aligned for you, it's going to feel like you are in flow, and that's Kriya in Sanskrit, right? So I know a lot of people think karma is what goes around comes around, and that's not really true. It's just that whatever actions you are taking, it doesn't matter what they are, they have a consequence, and that consequence is ultimately going to show you whether or not you are on the right path. And if you are not on the right path, it's going to be really, really bumpy. That's why a lot of people ultimately end up finding their purpose after going through really big challenges, because they have not been on an aligned path for a long time, and it gets really, really bumpy. So, and again, I want to say this, you don't have to go through hard things to find your purpose. It's just, I have found for myself and a lot of other people I know who have been through this kind of an experience, they have gone through really, really big life events that kind of, triggered them to go down the path of finding their purpose. A lot of times it is a chronic health issue. It may be a very significant life change. It could be a job change, a relationship ending. It could be a lot of different things. I can't possibly tell you what it could be, but I will say that going through those hard things is often the very thing that leads you to your purpose. And so um there was something that something I wanted to remember to bring up, which is another myth that I think a lot of people have about purpose is that it's supposed to be easy. Right. Well, when I find my purpose, everything is going to be super easy. When I find my purpose, it's supposed to be, feel light and joyful and airy. And while that is true, it can also be one of the hardest things that you go through, because the things that we have resistance to are often the very things that lead us where we're supposed to be. So finding your purpose, for some people, it may feel very easy. I will tell you, I have found for most people, it's not. And it's because it's the thing that they are resisting doing. I resisted, the idea that I was a spiritual guide. I resisted the idea that I would be using a non-physical source of information from the universe to help people change their lives. It sounded ridiculous to me at the time. Now it's everything that I want to do, because I know how impactful the work is on myself and on the people that I have worked with. That was hard though. It's hard. If you are experience resistance to doing some things in your life, you have to go through this discovery of, am I resisting this because it's the very thing that I need to lean into, or am I resisting this because it's not aligned for me? That's developing some discernment that everybody has to do, and that can be hard. So just becoming more aware of how you feel when you are doing certain things can be very helpful in you discovering your purpose in this life if it's something that you felt you haven't. And again, you may think you know what your purpose is, and it can change. How you fulfill it, how you implement it can change. It's not going to stay the same your whole life. And what I mean by that is I fulfill my purpose by being an attorney. I also fulfill my purpose by being a guide. I also fulfill my purpose in the ways that I interact with people in my life, including my close friends and my family, right? When you start to develop an awareness about what it is, you can figure out how you can implement it in ways that are aligned for you. There could be 20 different ways. I don't know, but it's not just one thing. I think people have this belief that they're here to do just one thing. Some people believe that they're just here to be a mom, and that is great. If that, that may be one way that you are fulfilling your purpose, but it's probably not the only way. And if you are hiding behind that, I would say to you, there's a lot of other things out there available to you. And this is true for anyone. This is not just about somebody being a parent. I believed that I was I was going to be an attorney for the rest of my life. That's clearly not true. We will attach to identities or attach to ideas and think, well, this is what's available to me, when everything is available to us. Anything and everything is available to us if we let ourselves think that way. And so this is all related to purpose, because when you are really living in alignment with your purpose, you find that you are fulfilling it in so many different ways, and it gives you so much more fulfillment in all of the interactions that you are participating in every day, not just about what your job is or what your role is in other people's lives. If you are a parent or, in a romantic relationship or whatever, you may feel that those things are very significant for you in being able to fulfill your purpose, but you may be fulfilling it in so many other ways that you haven't figured out yet and you haven't explored. And so I say that because I think a lot of people were like, well, this is the one thing I'm supposed to do. But guess what? There could be a lot of things that you're intended to do, and they could all bring you huge amounts of joy if you're willing to let them in. And so, I mean, as I said, I could talk about purpose for hours. This is an enormous topic. And so to try to cover it in, just this short amount of time, we can only do so much, right? But, what I would say is if you're going through a hard time, and this is true anytime. If something is, if you feel like you're facing a lot of challenges, use it as an opportunity to get yourself in alignment with what it is you're supposed to do. I can't tell you what that is. You have to figure that out. Of course, I can help guide people to, certain paths, but I can't tell you what your purpose is. What I would say is if you are going through any challenging times right now, they are serving you, even if it doesn't feel like it. And you can use the things that are happening in your life, whether you perceive them as good or bad, to get in alignment with your purpose and get in alignment with the things that bring you joy. And you do that by recognizing how you feel in your body when you're doing certain things. I will go into embodiment a lot more in other episodes. I'm not going to do that more today, but if there's only one thing you take away from today, I would say just start to recognize how you feel when you are doing certain things, when you're at work, when you're at home, when you're around certain people. That will start to get you to recognize where you are aligned with certain things in your life and where you do not feel good about certain things in your life so that you can start to make changes, because making those small changes can ultimately get you in alignment with your path and your true purpose in this life. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have an amazing day. Goodbye.
Hey, before you go, would you love to receive my 3-step masterclass to easily create and hold wealth for free? It's called Effortless Money, and it includes the exact framework to start attracting money effortlessly and manifesting abundance with more ease. If you want it for free, all you have to do is leave an honest review of the Wealth Embodied podcast, take a screenshot of this episode and put it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Brianna_Faringer, and we will send you the free Effortless Money Masterclass. This is how my clients have manifested a $13,000 check, a promotion resulting in a $30,000 salary increase, and significantly improved relationships. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time on the Wealth Embodied podcast.